Life has just sucker punched you. It's late at night, you're alone with your thoughts, and you cannot process the pain that you're in. What do? May I suggest that you reach out to a Nocturnal Anchor. Hi neighbor, welcome to Anchors of Encouragement. I'm Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, Bible class teacher, and the persistent encourager. Did you finally realize your dream of having a family only to have your happily ever after turn into a nightmare? Have you ever been told you're failing your kids? Life can be tough. Storms in life are inevitable, but there are ways to remain anchored when life knocks the wind out of you. In Anchors of Encouragement, my mission is to throw adoptive parents a lifeline and be your anchor, to teach you biblical solutions for modern-day problems so that you can weather the storms of life too. If you're ready for real and raw talk that leads to peace beyond comprehension so you not only survive but thrive in life's storms, this podcast is for you. Hope and healing are on the way. Chances are, the introduction to this episode brought back some painful memories. I didn't do that without reason. Not to make you feel bad again, but I did so because I wanted to ask this question. When life sucker punched you, when things happened unexpectedly, how did you deal with it? What did you do? You know, stuff happens in life, but not on our timetable. It seems to happen at the most inopportune time. But it's how we react and what we do that makes the difference, or can make the difference in how we're able to process the pain. Whether I'm going through a storm that happened during the day or it happened at night, it's at night when I'm alone with my thoughts that a storm can intensify. And that's the time where I've found that I need a nocturnal anchor. Now, what do I mean by a nocturnal anchor? It could be someone who suffers from insomnia that's just going to be up, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person that you know that you can reach out to no matter what time of day. Sometimes we call this individual our 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. friends. It's that person that you know that you can call to whenever you need them and they will pick up the phone. That person is an anchor of encouragement. They're a nocturnal anchor. Now, what I want to do in this episode is I want to share a couple of stories, one from Scripture and one from my personal life, and I want to show how this nocturnal anchor applies. The first one from Scripture is the man Job. He took one punch after another. In the first chapter, it was like one thing after another happened to him. He lost property. He lost animals. He lost servants. He even lost his family. Except for his wife. His kids all were killed. Job took all of those punches, but it didn't knock him out. And then in chapter 2, if that wasn't enough, each one of those punches that he took individually could knock anyone out, but he was still standing. Chapter 2, he had suffered all these personal losses, but he still had his physical health. And then that was taken from him. And he was suffering with a number of boils, as Scripture describes. He was in a lot of pain. And at this point, his wife, Mrs. Job, says, "Curse God and die." But Job refuses. He will not do it. He's still standing, even though he's in extreme pain, even though he's been disfigured now. It's at this point in the story where we're introduced to 3 friends of Job. 3 friends who should have been anchors of encouragement for him. They heard what had happened to him and came to mourn and comfort him. And as the text indicates, when they got to him, they didn't know it was him. He was that badly disfigured. To their credit, they sit down. They sit down and they wait with him for days. No one says a word. And to their credit, they don't say anything until Job speaks. Now we'll park that story for a second. Let me get back to my personal story. I've gone through my share of storms. Sometimes they happen during the day. Sometimes they happen at night. But I've noticed, especially at night, that when I'm alone with my thoughts, that's when the storms intensify. I've needed someone to talk to. I've needed a nocturnal anchor. It's at that point that I call this person and I know he's going to pick up. What I would like to do is consider 3 reasons why you need a nocturnal anchor. These are 3 reasons that I've discovered on myself with my own experiences of why I need a nocturnal anchor. The first we've already looked at, because sometimes you don't know when a storm is going to happen. Storms don't have a timetable. They aren't 9 to 5 storms. But boy, when they happen, they can be intimidating. They can really knock the wind out of you. Number 2, the second reason why you need a nocturnal anchor is because sometimes you need someone to listen to. You need a sounding board. Now, let's get back to our story with Job. Job's friends, to their credit, waited until he spoke. So they were his sounding board. Now, I wish that in some respects the story had stopped there as far as they go, because after Job speaks, each one of these friends in turn starts to speak. And it would have been better had they left everything unsaid, because rather than help him, they started to pile on. And that did Job no good. It didn't do these friends any good either. I found with my friend, it's nice to have that sounding board. Because when I sit alone with my thoughts, sometimes you can become disoriented. You aren't necessarily thinking rationally because emotions come into play. You find yourself gasping for air and you're grasping for straws trying to figure out what to do and how to navigate through this storm. Which leads me to point 3. Sometimes we need someone to objectively offer advice. Now, Job's friends did not do that. They were not objective. They had their mind made up as to why he was suffering, and they let him know. And so they piled on. They were criticizing him constantly, which just added to his pain and added to the suffering he was going through. What I've found with my friend is that he will listen, and then he will objectively offer advice. And I've asked specifically, I said, okay, if I'm off on this, please let me know. Because I realize that at some times emotions will start to get the better of me. And I want to make sure I'm seeing this thing clearly. So help me wade through the emotions and get to the crux of this idea and help me see what I should do. That's what's happened for me. And it's been helpful, very helpful, because I trust I can get sound advice when I might not be thinking the most sound myself. Let's get to the daily doable. Seek out a nocturnal anchor. If you don't have one, how do you get one? I think it's as simple as asking. Listen to what the preacher says in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. He says, 2 people are better than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. I believe most people want to be of service and help to others. And I believe if you ask your friends, hey, listen, if I need help with something, if I'm going through a tough time, would you be there for me? Can I call you? I bet they'll say yes. So reach out, ask for these nocturnal anchors. And in turn, be willing to be a nocturnal anchor for someone else. Be willing to pick up the phone and help. Because we're either in a storm, coming out of a storm, or about to go into a storm. We are at times are going to need someone to listen, someone to offer sound advice. But don't forget, regardless of whether a person is available to talk to you or not, you always have access to the supreme anchor. And he wants to listen to you. He wants you to pour out your heart to him. The benefits and blessings of this, it gives you a source of stability when life is unstable. And you don't have to weather the storms of life alone. That's one of the reasons I created this podcast, Anchors of Encouragement. I wanted to provide a safe space where people can come and listen. They can listen when things are tough. Maybe they can get a little sound advice that they can use to help them weather a storm. This has been happening. I wake up of a morning and check my downloads. There's been downloads overnight. So it tells me that while I'm sleeping, this podcast can be helping others. And that's the goal. I want it to help others. It's also one of the reasons I ask you to share it, because I would like for this podcast to be a nocturnal anchor for as many people as possible. That's all for today. I want to thank you for listening. I hope you'll consider this idea and find your own nocturnal anchors and be a nocturnal anchor for others as well. Until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now. If this podcast has given you the courage and confidence to face storms in your life, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about the show. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Tim Maudlin. You can also connect with me in my Facebook group, Anchors of Encouragement. So until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now.